Looks like it's going. There we go. Hey everyone, welcome to the NFL Trap Podcast Week 7. My name's Curtis and I'm joined with Chance.
Hey guys, how you going?
So sorry for not being there the last couple of weeks. It's been a little bit crazy with our uni exams, but we should be back to regular weekly podcasts live at 7:30
Yep.
every week.
Yep.
Um, and I guess we can just dive straight into it, Chance. Washington, your team was able to move to the
Yeah.
top of the NFC East, taking down Dallas 20 to 17, was it?
17.
Yep.
Yeah, 2017 off a missed field goal hit the post.
Yeah, that was one of those ones that came
52.
down to
Yeah.
a nail biter, and you thought for sure
Yeah,
that he was going to
well,
hit it.
it helped us that I think it was like a 10-yard penalty or something for a false start. So they
Yeah,
had to kick a 52-yarder and just hit the post. So we moved to 4-2 on top of the East, which I'm happy about. Looking at the stats, Bibbs had 4 receptions, 43 yards for a touchdown. Not too bad. Alex Smith, surprisingly, only threw 25 times for 178 for a touchdown. And then Peterson just 1 yard short of another 100-yard carry gain.
I think
And then the big thing, yeah,
I think the biggest stat here is that Ezekiel Elliott was held to 15 carries for 33 yards. Like, there's
yeah,
very
it
few
was
teams in the
crazy.
last 2 years that can say that they've managed to keep Elliott under 50 yards rushing in a game.
Yeah, and I just thought, I think the and I said that, what the Washington defense was able to stop, because Elliott is one of the elite runners.
Mm.
Already, we can already say that. To hold him to only 33 yards or 15 carries is just an extraordinary feat, and that's probably what led us to the win today. Kerrigan had 2 sacks as well, so I think the biggest talking point out of this game was just over the last few weeks, we've just seen the pocket protection from the Redskins looking a bit dull, bit lifeless. Not much help there for Smith, but this week against the which is a reasonable Dallas defense, I would say.
Yep.
The pocket protection was really looked really good, which is I think hopefully this helps us hopefully get into the postseason, sitting at 4-2 with a decent schedule ahead.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about this game though is I'm kind of worried that Washington, who is the team sitting at the top of the division, was able to only put 20 points on Dallas. Like Dallas is a team
Mm,
that we're expecting to not do any better than I think we said like maybe they're going 7-9.
yeah.
Maybe like if they get really lucky. Like this is not a team that's making postseason. Um, so do you feel confident in the way that Washington played today and the fact that they will be able to get it done in the postseason, or is this sort of like a look, we're
Uh,
doing well, but there's things we need to work on if we want to actually make a push in the postseason?
well, there's a lot of things, giving Alex Smith more opportunities to throw the ball.
Hmm.
I think at the moment we're pretty bad. Like when a team plays a really good zone on us, we're not able to throw that ball, and we're forced to rush it a bit.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest concern for us. I think because I think we beat a good team last week narrowly. Then week before we got flogged.
Hmm.
So a lot of our wins have been quite close, except that near shutout in week 1 against the Cardinals. So
Yep.
I think we can look to experiment next week because we are playing the Giants next week, who are 1-5, probably going to be 1-6 as of tomorrow.
Hmm.
So I think we're putting too much pressure on Peterson. He had 24 carries for 99 yards.
Mm.
We've not been always been that run first team, especially under the Kirk Cousin era. We like to throw the ball, nice like to run a lot of quick slants. But we're not seeing that as we know with Alex Smith. He's not more. I wouldn't say he doesn't look as comfortable throwing the ball as Kirk Cousins. So hopefully we can make the adjustment because I think we're running the ball a bit too much.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
Especially with the comment about Kirk Cousins, because you can definitely see up in Minnesota now that he's got that A tier of receiving core. That
yeah,
Minnesota offense can stretch you so deep down the field between Thielen and
oh yeah,
Diggs, and then Rudolph just
yeah,
cuts you up the middle. So, um, yeah, I think that's definitely a weapon that Washington has lost. But Alex Smith is giving you guys that great consistency that he's always known for. He might
yeah.
not have that same ceiling, but his floor is so high.
And he adds the leadership experience. He's considered a veteran. He just adds that leadership along with Peterson to that offense, which is a pretty young core. We have Reed, who's only in his mid 20s, who's a superstar tight end when healthy. You've got players like Bibbs and Doxson and all those players who are still relatively young.
Mm.
So I think adding that especially like a player of the caliber of Alex Smith, who's seen a lot of postseason action. I think he can bring this team, this young team, or sort of a rebuilding team, into that postseason, and hopefully, I can make something out of it. But yeah, as I said, he's got to get a little bit more confident with the ball throwing it. I think we've got a great receiving core. We have a tight end who can run routes as quick as any of them. So it's okay to run the ball. I'm not saying don't run the ball, but when we're giving Peterson 24 carries, I think it's a bit excessive. So I think if we can just make that balance, I think we'll be a really good team.
Yeah, but as you pointed out, he was 1 yard short of a 100-yard game, so he's averaging
Yeah,
4.5 yards a rush, which is
yeah, which is
incredible
good. I think,
numbers. Um,
especially for a guy of his age.
Absolutely, especially against that like Dallas front four, like that's a really good effort.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
So as I said, hopefully it continues. The AP train
yeah, and I mean, as long as you guys have Josh
continues.
Norman in that defensive back, like you guys were always going to have a good defense along the deep
Yeah,
ball. So,
yeah.
um,
So yeah, hopefully it gets. I hope I think we were saying we were what? I think we said a 6-10 team. I
yeah,
think we had at the start, and we're 4-2. So um,
definitely
hopefully
exceeding
it continues.
expectations for the Washington Redskins.
Oh, exactly. And I think I think next week is going to be a challenge because it's always a very good game against New York or like a division rival. Like with Dallas today, it was a really good game. So I
Absolutely.
think next week is going to be a good game. Although the Giants are struggling, they always seem to step it up when they play against a divisional rival.
Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah, so we'll move on to that next game. The Patriots, after a slow start, they've made it four in a row.
Yeah,
But
four in a row.
38-31 to the Bears. Although that Trubisky had that long pass and just couldn't. It was caught too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
caught
it
in.
was caught, but then got tackled. Yeah, so a close one for Brady and the Patriots.
Yeah, I think this is definitely closer than they wanted. To me, this is just proving how impactful Khalil Mack is. Um,
Well, he was injured. He was limited today
but
as
like you
well.
can see, like their defense has completely changed once he's been in that system.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like they've shifted and they trust, especially like another big thing is Roquan Smith in that linebacker position.
Mm,
They trust him so much with his lateral movement across the field that they're playing so much deeper and so much more zone. They're making it harder for guys to throw. Like Brady went for three TDs and a pick. We don't see Brady throwing picks, especially in the regular season. Like it's just not done.
yeah, yeah,
Um, sure, you can make the argument that he doesn't have the greatest receiving core at the moment, but like the Bears are allowed to play such an aggressive style of defense because of how good that front four is.
yeah.
Um,
I agree. I agree 100% with that.
and you're starting to
Um,
see like their investment in the offseason in that offensive side of the ball is really starting to come through.
yeah, I agree 100%. And I think the biggest one here is I think when we see the game, we look at Gordon, who he's had his troubles,
Hmm.
gets traded to the Pats, and then goes for 4 receptions, 100 yards. So is Gordon the missing piece for Brady and the Patriots?
Well, yeah,
Is he
I think
finding that piece?
I think he would be because you look at him, he's such a tough matchup physically for any cornerback. Like the only cornerback in the entire league that I trust going up against Josh Gordon and winning every time is Jalen Ramsey. Like everyone else is like,
Yep.
yeah, maybe. Like as a Philly fan,
Uh,
I'm fucking terrified of Josh Gordon coming into the into Philly and just tearing us up because like our cornerbacks are serviceable, but they're not A tier. Like since we lost Robinson, it's literally just like, can we put Darby one on one with him? No, okay, we have to double him every time now, and that means you can't double Gronk. And now
Exactly right.
if you're
Yeah.
doubling Gronk and you're leaving Gordon one on one, you've got Edelman cutting slants the entire time. Like they're just gonna
Mm.
cut you up. It's death by a thousand cuts. And Brady is so precise and so good at just being at picking apart zones and any defense. It's not like blitz man that he's going to get you in the end.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I agree. I think he is that missing piece. When healthy, remember, he's a top tier wide receiver when healthy,
Absolutely.
and I think he's now put in this system where he's given the ability to thrive. And I think, with the veteran leadership of Tom Brady, like Gronk, you obviously have a great receiver in Edelman. I think he's got a place he can finally call home where he can just go out there and play football. And I think that's what's going to help the Patriots just be a dominant team just like they're used to.
Yeah, the only question I have about the Patriots, and I'll pose this question to you now. Do you think that the Pats defense will cost them the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I think
Because like for so many years they've undercut and undersold and underpaid their guys on defense. So like we have Belichick, we have the strategy, we have the system. We can underpay
yeah,
guys and get guys that aren't as good to play in the system, and we know it's going to work. But is this going to come
well,
back to bite them because all of a sudden they don't have any aces on their defensive side
exactly
of the
right.
ball?
When you think about great teams, you always think of one superstar on the defensive end, right?
Yeah,
I can't really see any superstars on the Patriots defensive end. You
yeah,
got great players and you got Pro Bowlers, but I don't think you have that one legitimate superstar. And I really think that could come back to haunt them, especially when they're playing, teams like Kansas City, who they could possibly see in the conference game.
yeah. I think it's actually one of their worst matchups because just of how deadly Mahomes is, and their pass rush
Exactly
isn't
right.
going to get past that KC front five.
Exactly right. So I think they're a nightmare. Whatever team they play that likes to throw the ball a lot, it's a nightmare matchup for the Patriots because I don't think their secondary is as strong as it needs to be for them to be a championship caliber team.
Mm.
And we saw that last year um, against against Philly. We saw the defensive breakdown in that third and fourth quarter, which really was the turning point of the game. Was that halfway through that third quarter, Philly was able to get on that roll. I think it was I think it was a 10-0 run or something, 10 unanswered points or something in that in the third quarter, which really which changed the momentum around.
Yeah,
And
like
you would,
I can't remember which
and you would,
commentator it
yeah,
was, but like someone said Nick Foles' jersey looked exactly the same as it was at the kickoff of the game.
exactly right.
They didn't get any pressure on him at all the entire
yeah,
night. So,
there's
and
no
they've gone
pass rush, and
backwards.
they still have no pass rush. You would think they would have probably invested a little bit more time in the off season to get a well-known defensive player because it's New England. It's a large market. People want to play there just because of the history it has, and for them just to only look at of course they had that turmoil with Belichick and Brady and Gronk and so on, rah rah rah. You'd think they'd invest a little bit more time on defense, but it just hasn't happened, and that's going to be the Patriots' downfall, I think.
Yeah, I can absolutely agree with that. But yeah, I mean they're looking like a strong contender as they always do, and we'll probably see them in the postseason. Um,
Yeah, well, yeah, I think they will. Yeah,
Speaking of two teams that we might see in the postseason, the Texans went to Jacksonville and put on a clinic. Um,
yeah,
the Texans get their fourth straight win after a very slow start to the season.
yeah. They were
Um,
0-3 to start the season,
yeah, I mean the first
and
game against the Patriots was like, yeah, you could forgive that, but then the next two were just unforgivable games where
exactly right.
Deshaun
And
Watson
it
just
all,
did not look like the same player he was in his rookie year. But
and
now,
even now, he still was a bit hesitant. 12 for 24, 139 yards with a touchdown.
yeah, look, it's not
Um,
it's the greatest, but
it's
their
not,
running game is
yeah,
carrying them.
exactly right. But to think that just a season ago before his ACL injury, we were saying this guy's an MVP.
Absolutely, like the kid came
Uh,
firing out of the blocks, and you could see that absolute gunslinger in him, where it was just like this killer instinct, and he had so much faith in his arm that it bailed him out of bad reads.
oh yeah,
Like,
100%.
there's a YouTube channel, Brett Coleman, and he does film study, and he did one on Deshaun Watson, and I couldn't have said it better myself. There is windows that only Deshaun can make, and the reason he can
Mhm.
make it is because he trusts his arm that much, and he has such good receivers. Like he knows where DeAndre Hopkins is going to be, and he knows that he wins that one-on-one every time. So all he has to do
Mhm.
is just find the window and put it there. But this season he hasn't been making those reads. He's
Yep.
been the pocket's been breaking down too quickly, which isn't his fault. But then he panics and he breaks out with his legs, which is a trope that he's always had since college,
Yeah.
and something that he needs to cut back on. And he needs to find that rhythm and pace in the pocket to give
Yep.
Hopkins that extra half second and then deliver that ball in that window like we know he can.
Exactly right. I agree. I couldn't have said that better myself. I think he showed signs of that before his injury last year,
Hmm.
and I think now he's just because of that injury, he's reverted back to his. It's not really a way to say it, but his safe way of playing football.
Yep.
And I think he just needs to. I think it's all a mental thing at the moment. It's not a skill thing because he's one of the most skilled quarterbacks in the league.
Hmm.
He's one of the most skilled quarterbacks I've seen in a very long time. So I think at the moment it's just all this mental thing, just getting past the injury, and stuff like that. And I think coming along, when you have a great receiving core in Hopkins and Fuller, I think you can risk it a little bit because these guys are going to catch the football.
Absolutely.
You
You
know,
put it in their window and they're going to grab it.
and they will grab it. And I think even today, Ramsey, you know, Hopkins still managed to get 50 yards on 16.7 average, right, with a touchdown on Ramsey.
Yeah.
So that's only on 3 receptions. So he was quiet, but just even though he had that 3 receptions, look what he did with the ball.
Yeah. When he got open, it was really good.
Yeah, against a top tier corner in Ramsey.
Yeah, but
So
a
that's
lot of
what I
that was
mean.
scheme. Like Hopkins is amazing, and we all rate him in we talk about him in our top 3 wide receivers. But that was a lot of scheme, and you got to give props to their offensive coordinator there for scheming Hopkins open against Ramsey in those plays. Like he didn't do it a lot because he knew we'll just sacrifice Hopkins and then play around it because that way you feel like you can beat Boye on the other side of the field, then do it.
Yeah,
But yeah, there were some beautiful rub concepts to get him open and a lot of hooks into the inside. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, this game proved to me why we should be worried for Jacksonville because Blake Bortles looked woefully unprepared for this game.
well, he got benched.
Yeah,
He got benched in the third quarter because he threw 6 for 12 for 61 yards.
yeah,
Biggest turmoil. And I was reading it. I was reading an article where I think we can both agree. Bortles has been a real issue for Jacksonville.
yep,
I think at the moment their quarterback unit is probably the weakest in the league,
absolutely.
or one of the weakest. When you think of it, like Kessler is your backup quarterback.
Yeah, and last
You know
year, a
what I
lot of
mean?
his deficiencies were hidden behind Fournette. Now that we've
Exactly
seen,
right.
now that we've seen a couple games with Fournette out with injury, and we knew he was going to get injured because it's the type of runner he is.
Yep.
You're starting to see Bortles doing these things where he's going to mess up. He's not the type of quarterback that's like Brady that's going to sit in the pocket and make the throws, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate
Well,
because that team is so talented.
it is.
But the biggest issue for me that I saw today was like you let Jadeveon Clowney, who's an amazing defensive end, just get 2 sacks off, and he was getting penetration on nearly every play.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't.
can you sum it up to blame? It's not all to blame on Bortles' end, right?
No, no, no.
It's also,
The
it's also
defense.
the O-line.
Yeah, the O line's not doing its job. The defense today was just absolutely fantastic from the Texans.
It was.
And they were playing their coverages amazingly, and it was really hard for anyone to get open against them, especially with the amount of time that they were getting through on the blitzes. But yeah, it's just you can't let your team go down because your quarterback can't throw the ball. Especially in this
Exactly
day
right.
in this league, you can't have a team that's going to be so defensive orientated that you can't score double-digit points. You're never going to hold a team to less than 14 in this league.
Exactly right. And that brings me on to my next part. They say that the coaching staff in the front office has said the quarterback position isn't their biggest concern right now, which it is. We can all see that. Everyone can see that. Even Jacksonville fans can see that. So if you were in that position, would you trade Bortles or try and get a trade for Bortles
Well,
to bring in maybe another a leader type role, or do you just try and get him from the draft, get a play from the draft
if I'm
and build up
Jacksonville,
like
there's
that?
one or two things that I'm considering. I'm going, can we get a player in the draft next season? Do we need to tank? Or,
Yep.
look, Kaepernick is still available.
Yeah,
Like,
so what would you do? Because I really think the Bortles experiment is over and it failed miserably.
well, they just
You know,
signed
I
Bortles
think
to a monster contract, didn't they, for 4 years?
exactly right, and they're saying they don't want to trade him. But when you sign a guy to the amount of money he's on, especially when a lot of it is guaranteed money as well,
Yeah.
I think you expect something better than 6 for 12, 61 yards and 2 fumbles.
Yeah,
You know
look,
what I mean? He fumbled twice which resulted in 10 points, in 10 Texan points.
exactly. And I don't think I don't think Kaepernick is a real option anymore just because he's suing the league.
Yeah,
You cannot legally hire that guy and expect
yeah.
not to have repercussions from the league. But oh man, I'm genuinely thinking what package do I need to put together to send to New Orleans to try and get Teddy Bridgewater? That's what I would be
Oh,
doing as the Jags GM right now is how can I get Teddy Bridgewater into my team right now?
where did he go again?
New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah.
And I don't think they're going to trade him
But
because I think that Bridgewater is the New Orleans quarterback going forward. Because if
yep,
New Orleans win the Super Bowl this year, I guarantee you that Breeze is retiring.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think he's on his last leg, but he threw his 500 career touchdown. We'll talk about that a bit later.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree. I think if I'm Jacksonville, I'm trying to find that package. I don't think a lot of teams will see Bortles as their primary,
Mhm.
as their first string quarterback. It's more of their second string.
Yeah, the other
Backup
question
or
is Philly willing to
so.
trade Foles?
And I don't think so. I don't. I think if you're Philly, you keep Foles. I think
Absolutely.
he did
Yeah.
amazing work. I think he's almost on that borderline as a starter, first string quarterback. And when you can have that, like when we think about it, I'd rather have Foles on my team as a backup than Bortles.
Absolutely. But that's what I'm saying is, can the Jags find a package? Like, do they say we will send you
They need
Bortles?
to send a first or second round pick along with Bortles.
Yeah, you either have to send
You
Bortles
have
and
to.
a first, or like Bortles and Ramsey to get like Foles and a pick, like Foles and a third maybe.
And I think at this point, I think Ramsey would be untouchable.
Yeah, I don't think you
Um,
can trade Jalen Ramsey. I think he's the face of that franchise moving forward.
exactly right. I think on
Um,
the defensive, yeah, for sure. With a mouth like his,
like maybe Boye.
back up.
Like Boye is an amazingly talented cornerback.
What
Um,
about Fournette?
I don't think that you can trade Fournette. They picked him in the first round, right? Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
So are you really willing to trade a first round rookie, or still on his rookie contract? Um,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's a hard thing for I think
yeah, like
they don't have too many pieces that they can really use as a bargaining
they're
piece
really in
to
a
try
tight
and back in
piece.
Bortles.
That's
Yeah,
actually
I
another
think
question
you
we'll
might
come
have
back to
to.
later about the Philly running back position because I have
Yeah,
some very interesting thoughts about that.
yeah. So we'll move on to the next game again. Mahomes, man, we talk about him every week,
Every single
and
week.
his Chiefs they steamrolled the Bengals today, 45-10. I was not expecting that type of scoreline
I think
at all.
I was expecting them to lay 45 on the Bengals because the Bengals' defense is not very good. Um,
Yeah.
but the Bengals have been better than 10 points this season. Like Andy
Oh,
Dalton has
exactly
been playing
right.
so much better than that. I expected this to at least be competitive, and it
Yeah.
really wasn't at all.
Well, AJ Green didn't even score.
Yeah, which that
7
tells you
receptions
enough.
on 117.
Yeah,
But I think the biggest thing here was Kareem Hunt, man. 15 carries for a touchdown, and plus 5 receptions for 2 touchdowns. He was the guy to throw to. I think give them the ball when you needed it. And again, Mahomes 28 for 39 for 358 yards, four touchdowns and a pick.
yeah.
That's crazy numbers again.
And I mean, like,
And then
you can just read down that stat sheet, and it's just highlight after highlight. Like Tariq
oh, it
Hill
is.
going 7 receptions for 70 yards almost and a touchdown. Like,
Yeah.
this
And
is
he
a
had
crazy
12
good
as
team.
well. Oh yeah, for sure. And then we were thinking about they were rebuilding. I remember the first week we said they won't even have a sniff
I remember.
of making the postseason.
Right, look,
I,
that's a little
I
bit
said that.
that's a little bit harsh. I said that it depends on how good Mahomes is, and Mahomes has blown me out of the water.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure. That is he an MVP candidate? Do you think?
if he keeps playing the way he is, absolutely. Like, if we can say Carson Wentz was last year, why isn't this guy? Because he's doing to the Chiefs what Carson did to the Eagles, where it was like this team with so many pieces, and you're like, surely they have to get it right. And then this young quarterback comes in, and all of a sudden, bang, it clicks.
Yeah, I think again that's what I mean. Alex Smith has done wonders, but we knew what we were getting from Mahomes, a gunslinger straight away. We knew that
Absolutely.
a rocket arm. He can make passes that no one has ever seen before. He's throwing with his left and right hand.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he can run with the ball. He can scramble.
He's a
Really
freak
well
of a
as well.
talent.
He is. He's a freak of nature. And I really like this Chiefs team, this unit. I think they just got to get, even though they only allowed 10 points, I think they still allow a bit of points on the defensive end. But hey, if you're winning games,
Yeah, their defense isn't where it needs to be, but I believe that their offense can outscore anyone on the day.
are they the new Atlanta Falcons team?
Yeah, I'd say they would be. They don't have as talented receiving options, but they have a much better quarterback. Like
Oh yeah, but then
Matt Ryan is a average quarterback, I'd say, except for his MVP
at
year
best,
where he
yeah.
absolutely went off. But if Pat Mahomes keeps this up, he is easily MVP for the year, and going forward, he is the pinnacle of what the quarterbacks need to look to achieve.
Well, yeah, exactly right. And then the biggest thing out of the Bengals end is Dalton, 15 for 29, 148 yards, a touchdown and intercept. But we did see him being replaced by Driscoll, who went 4 for 4 for 39 yards. That signs to come that Andy Dalton is taking a back seat.
I think that's just pulling your starter because you're down 45-10.
Okay, yeah.
Um, that makes
Don't want to
sense to
risk
me.
injury, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not going to win that
An
game.
aging player. Yep.
So like to me that just says, hey, look, we know we're not going to win this one. Dalton, just sit down, have a break. No point in you going out there and getting injured. Although in saying
Yeah.
that, there's so many rules to protect your QB now. Like there shouldn't be any
Oh,
QB
it's becoming a
injuries.
softer league by far. This roughing the passer has just been it's just gone way overboard. It's almost
Oh,
ridiculous.
it's
now.
crazy. You can't
even
tackle a
touch
guy
him.
anymore. You know,
No,
like,
you can't. You can't even touch him without getting a flag. So
and the thing is, like, we're getting to a point now where it's actually becoming more dangerous for the quarterbacks because the only way that guys can tackle the quarterback without getting flagged is basically by getting behind them, pivoting, and like judo, throwing them onto the ground and getting them off their
that's
body
a
weight.
risk that's a risk of concussion.
That's a
right?
huge concussion injury right there. Like if
Exactly
they
right,
land
especially-
badly on their neck, that's it. They're out for months.
And then we talk about protecting the players with concussion, like Cam Newton. He's been a big advocate for that. And I think, just like in AFL, like in Australian football here in Australia, once you sling that person, they hit the ground, it's a free kick straight away, and you're going to get reported for, because a lot of times they will be concussed when your head hits the ground like that.
Absolutely, and like,
And it's happening right here. And then I don't think a helmet is going to add that much more protection if your head.
yeah, no, and
bounces
they're
off a high
encouraging
surface.
that behavior. Like the whole fact that there's going, oh yeah, we don't want you hitting the passer and then driving your body weight into them. It's like, well, the only way that they can feasibly tackle a QB now is by grabbing that QB and judo throwing them, because like that's the only way you're going to get someone like a Carson Wentz or a Ben Roethlisberger to the ground. It's not going to be
Exactly right.
someone like, like with your smaller QBs, like your Watsons and stuff. Sure, if you hit them, they're going to go down. You don't have to put your body weight onto it. But Carson's just going to shrug that off.
Exactly right. A lot of these bigger quarterbacks, like even Baker Mayfield,
Yeah,
he
Baker's.
shrugged that off because they're just all muscle. They're 220 plus pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like,
100 kilos here, like in our terms, it's 100 plus kilos. And when you're trying to tackle that, coupled with their strength, you're not going to get them unless you actually use your weight and throw them around.
exactly. And like, I think it's going to take a bad injury to fix this rule because I don't think they've thought out what this means, because we're starting to see the
Yeah.
adaptations from the defense, which is great to see that defenses are quickly adapting to new rules. But it's terrible to see like, oh, this is what's going to happen, and someone is going to get very hurt.
Exactly right. I'm with you 100%. These new rules. I'm all for protecting the passer. I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
But up to the fact where you can't even tackle them front on anymore.
Yeah.
It's just to the point where you see flags every single week.
And how many
roughing the
games have
passer.
been decided this season because of roughing the passer calls? I can
A
think
lot.
of I think of 4 off the top of my head that I've watched the full games. The Green Bay Minnesota game, where
Yep, that was a big one with Kirk Cousins being. Yep, I
Yep.
remember that.
the Philly Minnesota game,
Yeah,
where
I do remember
where
that as
Fletcher
well,
Cox got called for roughing the passer, and then it resulted in a Minnesota touchdown. The
Yeah.
Atlanta game, where was it? Oh,
So I can't remember that one. But I can recall there was a few.
yeah, and then the other Green Bay game.
Yeah, so I think, and when you look at it, it's all the superstar quarterbacks, getting these calls.
yeah, and
You
it's
know what I mean?
yeah.
It's to the point where are we protecting the superstars or are we protecting quarterbacks?
yeah, and like I think at the end of the
That's
day,
what I'm looking at.
the overall product of football is going down, which is not what you want to see as a spectator. Like, you want to see good, solid contact, but you don't want to see guys getting hurt.
Exactly right. And I'm with you 100%. I think at this point of time, though, it's where the NFL is here. We're going to look after the Rodgers, the Brady's, the Cousins, the Wentzes, all these types. But, I think it's protecting superstars more than just
Absolutely.
the position of the quarterback.
I think what they could do is they could use something like we have in the NRL over here, in our rugby league, where contact after the tackle is a flaggable offence.
Yep.
So once the tackle is made, if there's any contact afterwards, that's an immediate flag.
I agree with you. I think
Picking up and
the
driving
NFL needs to look at it. Yeah.
should be a flag. Like, we have a rule here in the NRL where if you tip someone over horizontal, so if their hips go above their shoulders, that's an immediate penalty.
Exactly right.
And it's to stop people from driving their necks and shoulders into the ground, like we saw last year with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And that's obviously a dangerous position, but hitting someone front on and landing with your body weight into their rib cage is not a dangerous tackle. That's
Especially with
football.
all the protective padding they're wearing anyway to protect the ribs as well.
Absolutely.
I'm with you on that one. The NFL needs to revisit that rule,
Because
and tweak it because I'm all for protecting the pass, but not to this point where we're essentially babying
yeah,
the quarterback.
we might as well just start playing flag football and take defensive rushes out of the game. Like realistically,
Exactly right.
like there's nothing that's they can do.
I'm with you on that one 100%.
But yeah, I don't want to see someone get hurt for this rule to be changed because I know it's going to happen. The second you start flinging guys, it's going to be one of the smaller quarterbacks. Like it's going to be like a Deshaun, or it's going to be someone like, you know, an Andrew Luck, someone that's not as big, not as physical, is going to get grabbed by the hips, thrown over someone's back, have their head hit the floor, and now they're concussed and they're out for 4 weeks.
Exactly. I'm with you 100% on that one. We want your thoughts, guys. So leave it on in our Facebook page or in the comments. We'll try and get back to them as much as possible. What do you think about this protecting so roughing the passer rule? Is it overboard? Is it just right, or does it need to be, a bit more strict?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to have that interaction with you guys and see where everyone stands on that.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the last game. We'll really talk about in depth.
Yep.
And that's your Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champs, down 21-17 to the Panthers.
Yeah.
Moved down to a shaky 3-4.
Yeah, so this was an unfortunate game to lose. It was actually looking really good for the Eagles until that fourth quarter collapse.
Well, yeah. Well, you have Wentz who threw for 310 yards. Ertz had 138 yards receiving. So
yeah, so the biggest issue for us this game was our defense just let too much happen in the fourth quarter. We couldn't get off the field with our defense, and we couldn't keep our offense going long enough to sustain drives. And I think the biggest component of that is our run game. Like we don't have Ajayi, we don't have Sproles.
Yep.
So Clement is shouldering pretty much all the burden. And he's not a bad player, but he is that sort of third down trick play sort of running back where you have to account for him catching the ball. He's not that ground and pound kind of guy. Like he's not your Fournettes. He's not your Le'Veons, your Gurleys, where you just hand in the rock and he'll get you 4 yards.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest issue at the moment is that they can't do what they did last year with LeGarrette, is just winding that clock down and just beating enemy teams into submission and saying, yeah, that's fine, you can come at us, but we're gonna have a fresh rotation on defense every single like play. So it's gonna be up to you to beat us. Whereas I think it's gotten a bit backwards this season because of the amount of injuries we've sustained so early on, where it's okay, can we actually go toe-to-toe with these guys? Like, our defense is always going to be throwing punches, but the offense is looking tired, it's slow, it's struggling, and then it's making the defense look tired. And like I said, our defensive backs aren't the greatest. I would have loved to have seen us keep Pat Robinson, but I understand that was a $20 million a year contract, and you just can't afford to keep him under.
Especially when you go and sign players like Bennett and so forth.
Nada. But yeah, like that's one of the things that I don't understand. Like our defensive front seven was the best in football by a long margin. Why didn't we go and sign a defensive back? Or now that we're here, I'm going to bring it up. Why didn't we go and sign Le'Veon Bell? Like,
yeah, well, I was silent because I'm just thinking, that's a really good question. You guys did you guys even pitch for him at all?
No, we didn't send an offer.
Oh,
like,
that's weird.
That's the most frustrating thing. Is like, okay, fine, give up the first because he's still under that franchise tag. Who cares? You sign Le'Veon Bell. You sign him to $20 million a year for a 4-year contract. You give him what he wants, or even $15 million a year over a 4-year or a 5-year contract because he'd be happy with that. Guaranteed money, long-term contract. That's what he's been asking for from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
This is a guy that is going to be Hall of Fame.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I agree. And then just imagine the pairing of Wentz and Le'Veon.
Not only that, think about how effective guys like Sproles, Clement, Ajayi have been with that Eagles front five. Imagine putting Le'Veon back there. Imagine having Le'Veon Bell to pound that line for 2 downs, 3 downs. Then you bring in Ajayi or Clement on your fourth down. And then they have to account for the run. They have to account for the pass. The amount of screens that Philly love to run. We've got Jeffries back, and man, Alshon played an amazing game.
He did. I think he was in the right spots. I managed to watch a bit of this game, and from what I saw, I think he's a good re-signing for you guys. I think he's just one of the. I think he's just that efficient role player that you need. That every
Absolutely.
team needs.
Yeah.
Every team needs an efficient role player who knows exactly what he needs to do, what his role is on the team, and he plays that to a T. And I think that's what make you guys so good. But I'm going to pose this question. Who's to blame for the Eagles, or what is to blame for the Eagles? Struggles. Is it the injury? Is it the players, or is it the staff? What's really going on? We can't always blame the injuries, so to speak. And we can't blame Wentz. He's just come back and then he's just thrown for 310 yards.
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of everything. The players aren't playing with that same guts that they had last year. Like,
Yeah,
you saw your quarterback go down, your starting Pro Bowl left tackle go down, your captain on the defense and your linebacker go down, and yet they still made it to the Super Bowl and won it. They were
but is it
hungry.
just because we won the Super Bowl? We can relax a bit, or
I don't know if it's
so it's not that
relaxed.
hunger anymore? Is it there's no more hunger in them? Like we want to go back to back, or
I don't know if it's that they're relaxed or that they're not hungry for it. I think it's hard to repeat that performance when you have the injuries that they have.
exactly? Okay, yeah,
And again, like I came back to it with Blunt. He was such a key role last year, and the fact that he would just pound it up the middle again and again and again, and he'd get you that third down. Like, Philly had a 70% completion on third down last season. That's ridiculous.
it's below 30 now, isn't it?
It's
You
back
guys?
to average. It's gone to like 35-40%,
Yeah.
which is where the
Okay.
league should be sitting. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have 70% completion on third down. No one should.
Yeah.
But it's because that they were just so good on third down last season that they kept defenses on the field for so long that
It's
they were
hard
just
to do
able
that,
to
yeah.
win games. And they were like, yeah, bring your best defense every single play because we're going to, and our guys are fresh every single time. And that's how they won
Yeah.
games. So I think without that, with the injuries that they've had, they could definitely have taken a step back, and they can't play that same style. But yeah, at the same time, like, just sign Le'Veon Bell, and there's your problem fixed for the next 4 years. Um, like, yeah, I get the cap space is going to be tight, especially once Wentz comes off his rookie contract, because you're gonna have to pay him.
Oh, he'll be franchise tagged almost immediately. You would think.
Like, I think you
I
have
thi-
to. I think you have to.
You'd have to.
You take his 50-year option, and then in his 50, you sign him to a 5-year, 25, 27 a year contract.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. So that's a lot of money.
I mean,
And you got that the cap space is going to be so slim for you guys as well.
yeah, your cap space is pretty short at that point, but I think Bennett's on a 1-year prove it deal, or Haloti is. One of the two signings are on a 1-year prove it deal.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like, the thing that I'm worried about is, like, what do you do at that running back position, because it's so thin at the moment.
Yes.
And this isn't to take away from Carolina. Carolina played an amazing game, and Luke Kuechly showed his class in this game. But yeah, Cam Newton played well. 25 out of 39 for 269 yards and 2 TDs. Like, he played well.
Yeah.
But I don't see Carolina being that same postseason threat as they have been in the past.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know about you,
Like
but
it-
like, yeah, the lack of like Benjamin and the fact that they're reliant so much on McCaffrey to get those yards, I feel like that's a very schemable offense. And if you give someone 2 weeks to prep for that, then you're probably not going to be able to take them.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you. I think.
and they're another team
But-
that's like so limited by their quarterback. If Cam shows up, you are an unbeatable team. If Cam doesn't have a good day, then you lose. It's just that simple.
Yeah, you're in trouble. Yeah. We'll talk about the other games just quickly.
Yep.
Thursday night game, we had the Broncos cards. Broncos just destroyed them 45-10.
Yeah, I don't think
We
anyone
had the
was
I
surprised
don't
by
think
that.
anyone really saw. Yeah, I think the Cardinals' struggles continue.
Yep.
Chargers defeated the Titans in a close one, 20-19, which
Yep.
was
Absolute nail
surprising
biter.
one. Yeah, it was a good game. Then we had the Vikings defeated the Jets 37-17.
Pretty out.
Again, it was pretty, pretty lopsided. We all sort of assumed that the Vikings would win that.
Yep.
The Colts destroyed the Bills 37-5.
Yep.
Really weird. Andrew Luck had a really good game. The Bills, their quarterback with Allen is still, he's a rookie, but it's still, in limbo. It's not looking great for Allen.
Yeah, they're in a bit of a rough pickle there, the Bills. I don't know what they're going to do. They have to rebuild. Like, there's just nothing that they can do on either side of the ball to win games.
I agree.
Um,
And I feel bad for Allen. You know what I
Having
mean?
to step into that situation. It's like with
Yeah.
Rosen at the Cardinals. It's not a good place to be.
No, it's when you're in a system like that, it's not built to work. And so hopefully it gets better long term for the Bills.
Yep.
The Lions defeated the Dolphins 32-21.
Yep.
Which was a good game to watch. Stafford again carrying the team, Tate doing his thing. Great game. And then the Saints defeated the Ravens 24-23 because I think Tuck missed a field goal.
I believe that is what
I
happened.
think he missed the game-winning field goal. But the biggest thing of that is shout out to Drew Brees through his 500th career touchdown.
Joining a very exclusive club there.
A very elite club and a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Easily. Because there's been like 8 seasons where someone has thrown for 5,000 yards, and Drew Brees has 6 of those.
Yeah,
so like he's first ballot 100% of the time.
Yeah, for sure. So shout out to him. You know, an amazing career. Then we have the Bucks defeated the Browns 26-23 in OT, and the funniest thing there was Baker. Did you watch this game?
I didn't get to see the end of this game. No.
Okay, so the field goal happened, and it just panned to Baker, and he just could not believe that field goal went in. I think it was a 50-something yard attempt. It was a ridiculous kick. And the Bucks get that win 26-23, and then the Rams, like usual, went out there and killed the 49ers.
They pantsed them. That was a pantsing.
Oh yeah, it was disgusting to watch.
Yeah,
because this was on TV. It was sad to watch if you're a 49ers fan.
Yeah, it just shows how bad that team is without Jimmy G.
Oh, exactly right. And just I was thinking to myself, man, Jimmy G just means so much to this team that you just take him away and they're just garbage. They're absolute garbage without Jimmy G at the front.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they went from being we might make postseason to we have a top 5 pick.
We're one of the 2 worst teams. We're one of the 2 worst teams.
Yeah, it's like we're guaranteed a top 5 pick again. Yay! It's like you gotta feel bad for them, but I mean at the same time,
tanking. They gotta love the tank.
Yeah, they gotta love the tank. Another crazy thing to bring up here is the Browns are sitting at what, like
2-4-1.
2-4-1. They could easily be like 4-2-1.
Exactly right, because a lot of their games have come from either an OT or a field goal.
Yeah, so they drew the Steelers in week 1. Then they lost to
They lose in week 2 in OT.
Yeah, they lost to the Bills in OT. No, not the Bills, sorry. They lost to the Saints in OT. Then they beat the Jets, which was that first win game. Then they got pantsed by the Raiders. Not pantsed. It was actually a really good game that they lost in OT again.
They lost in OT, yeah.
And
then they won.
They barely beat the Ravens.
Yeah.
They didn't do well against the Chargers, and then they lose this in OT. So, like, realistically, they should be like 4-2-1.
Exactly right, and to think that they're last in the division as well.
Yeah,
I think they're a good team. I don't care what people say; they're a good team.
I think this just proves that the Browns are probably 1 season removed from being a postseason team.
Oh, exactly right. Especially if you can keep Landry.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
Baker.
And I think
they're going to keep Baker.
I think
the biggest concern is trying to keep Landry.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he's a free agent this year.
Yeah, as long as Garrett's on that contract as well. Like, that is a scary defense. Like, they're a top 10 defense in the league at the moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think they're right up there.
Which just amazes me that they decided not to take Chubb. But in saying that, Denzel Ward has been playing out of his mind, and he looks like a Pro Bowl talent. So
yeah. So again, shout out to the Browns. I tip them every week.
Yeah, I think I've done it just about every week as well.
I tip them every week, man. So we'll just move on. So we're almost at the halfway point. Next week would be the halfway point, but let's talk about it now.
Yep.
We can easily say that this season has been very weird. I think a lot of upsets, a lot of things that we didn't really expect.
Yeah.
So which has a lot of people. I remember having this conversation a couple of weeks ago with Greg, the other member. Then we have Lewis, who's the member of the NBA Trap Podcast. We were having this conversation about the race to the postseason. And we could only really think of 2-3 teams. You got the Rams, the Chiefs are locks. I think they're locks. The Patriots are probably a lock. Green Bay might be a lock.
I think Minnesota's actually going to win that division now.
Okay, yeah. So it's all up in arms, you know. So which really begs the question posed, but not just from us, because I know we always talk about this type of stuff, but from any other football fan. You know, I've talked to people from university, from work, about all this stuff, and the biggest question that we get asked is which two right at this point, which two teams are making the Super Bowl, and who's going to win it? Kurt, we'll start with you. Like, what do you think?
I think the way that they're playing, it's LA versus KC,
Oh yeah,
and I think it's going to be a really fun game.
big scoring game.
I
You
think it's
reckon?
going to be like a 45-42 game,
Yep.
and I think it's just going to be a hell of a riot to watch because I think Casey wouldn't be able to hold Gurley down, and I don't
Yep.
think that anyone can stop Pat Mahomes at the moment. So it'll
Yep.
be interesting to
So
see
I
as the
agree
weather
with
gets
you. Yeah.
colder, like how well Mahomes can stay with that cannon arm. But yeah, at this
Yeah.
point, I think it's those two teams, and I think it's a score fest.
Exactly right. I think, if the Super Bowl were, or the playoffs were to start today, your two biggest teams you would think would win it would go all the way. Would win their conferences, the Chiefs for the AFC and the Rams in the NFC, and I think those two would just do battle. I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch. They've already played each other, haven't they?
Uh,
No.
I,
Yes.
yes, they have.
Yes, and the Rams won it.
Yes.
Yeah, the Rams won it. Um, we saw that. I think it's going to be a fantastic game if it were to start, and I think they're my two big picks out of that. So let us know what you guys think. The next question is this is my own personal question. Can the Redskins win the East and make some noise in the postseason?
So I would say
We
that,
sort of we sort of touched on it,
yeah,
but
I think yeah they can win the East depending on how well Philly play. Because I don't think Dallas is going to be a contender, and we know for a fact that the Giants aren't.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
as far as can they make some noise in the postseason, that's to be determined, especially with someone like Alex Smith, who is, notorious for falling off at the end of a season. Um,
exactly right. Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, the Redskins have a decent
you
roster.
can't. Yeah, like you can make the argument that they could win the East. But it's by far the most competitive division, I think.
Yeah,
Other than the South, maybe,
yep, I'd say so.
or or the North. I think it's a quite competitive division.
Yeah,
Uh, Take away the Giants because they're 1-5. Let's that we'll touch on it. It's one of the next questions we'll ask, but so I'll leave it at that. I think the Redskins, you can make an argument that they can win the East. I think offensively we're there. I
yep,
think offensively we're there, even though we're not scoring many points. I think our point differential is +2.
yeah,
I think it's 106 points for, 104 against.
hmm
So I think we got to just be a bit better on the defensive end. I think again, but it all comes down to what Alex Smith does with the football. He's notorious for being very bad. Post Thanksgiving, he
yep,
gets really bad. Or not really. He gets bad. So
yeah,
and especially when you're in a place like Washington, it gets cold.
yeah. It's gonna get real
It
cold
gets
up there.
cold in Washington. So along with Kansas City, it gets cold there too. But it's going to be freezing in Washington, so we'll have to see. But then the next thing is the Texans. They've won 4 straight.
hmm
They started off 0-3. Deshaun Watson's not been there fully. I don't think he's yet to be 100%. Are they? Can you sort of see? Is their form starting to get back to where it was when they made that playoff run last year and the year before that?
Um,
Is it there?
look, the pieces are there. I don't know if I'd say the form is there, but the pieces are definitely there. You've got such a talented receiving core. Your front four on the defense is amazing.
Yeah,
Look, you don't have ball hawks in the back, but they're serviceable DBs. Um,
yeah, they are. They are.
and the run
They do
game's
their job.
the run game is serviceable. The run game's good. So I think it's
Yeah, the
gonna
piece. I think. Yeah,
yeah
it just depends on Deshaun. I think. And if JJ can stay healthy.
yeah pretty much. It's gonna come down to like those two guys. Like, can Deshaun play his game and can JJ get healthy, play a full season and be impactful? Because if you've got Jadeveon Clowney on one side and JJ Watt, you're gonna let someone through eventually. So
Exactly right.
yeah, I mean, like, look, with the way that the Jags are playing and the issues with Bortles, they actually might just win this division for free. Um, Which I mean, like it seems
I
like
mean,
every year we just say like, oh yeah, this team will just win the division for free because the South is so terrible. But like,
well, they're sitting at top. Think of it like this: they're on top and they're 4-3.
yeah, exactly. Like I mean, that
They're
division is
one
an absolute
game over
mess.
500. You
Yeah,
know, one game over 500, and they're the top team in the division.
yeah. I mean, like it's such a close division that one, but they should be able to win it.
Yeah,
Assuming the Jags don't come back and have a massive resurgence. But look, I don't see them making a lot of noise in the postseason. Like they might win their wild card if they play it. But I don't see them making it to sort of a divisional round or the championship.
yeah, I agree with you completely, 100%.
Mm.
I can't really elaborate more on that because you basically said it for me. We'll skip it. Now this one is we'll consider the injuries and everything. Philly,
Mhm.
can they even really make the postseason? Do you think are they good enough with the team they've got right now?
Absolutely.
Can they even make the postseason?
Oh, easily. They can easily make the postseason. Can they make noise in the postseason like they did last year? We'll see. But
Probably not. Yeah.
I mean, like, there's just so much that's loaded in the NFC. Like they can absolutely win the division. We know that they're good enough to win the division.
Well, they're 3 and 4. They currently sit third in that division behind Dallas and Washington, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's so
It's by like
yeah,
a game.
you
So
think they would? Yeah,
look, it's not like they've been blown out and they're not going to be able to, even contend. But look, 10-6 could be good enough to make postseason in the NFC with how like tight it's going to be at the end.
oh,
Um,
exactly right. I think you only need to win about 19 games anyway
yeah,
to
like
make
honestly, if
to
you
make
win
that.
9 games, you're looking at a maybe a wild card berth because of how competitive the NFC is. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, like I think it's going to be a race between them and Washington for the first seed out of that division.
Yep.
Um, I have no doubts that Philly can have the talent to make it. It's can they stay healthy enough and can they figure out what
Yep.
they're doing on the offensive side of the ball?
That's exactly my point. I think you guys are just one more in from just dropping the ball.
Yeah, I think
I,
like
I,
like the biggest issue
let's say
is
yeah,
like we can take hits on the line, we can't take hits in our skill positions.
exactly. I agree with you. And let's just say, hypothetically, you lose Wentz. You
Yeah,
guys aren't making that postseason.
yeah. Look, not the way
I think
Nicky
he's
Foles
so.
has been
I think
playing.
no. I think he's so critical
Yeah,
to the team's success. I don't care what happened in the Super Bowl and Nick Foles won the Super Bowl MVP. I'm forgetting that. Without Wentz, you have no legitimate lead at the offensive end. You don't have the same person. Nick Foles can't throw the ball like Wentz. Doesn't have the same passing IQ as Wentz.
but you could say the same
Doesn't
thing
have
about
the
nearly
same.
every team. Like nearly every team, if you lose your starting quarterback, you're done.
Well, I guess you can't say that about Washington because really, Smith is not that great
But
to
who's your
begin with.
backup?
Quinn or something.
Yeah, like it's not going to be great.
I don't even know. But I think you guys are just again, if you guys can just stay with the team you've got now, if there's no more injuries, God forbid there's injuries, touch wood.
Yeah.
You guys will make the postseason. Probably pushing a wild card berth more than anything. Do you guys make any noise? It really depends if you get you guys back.
Pretty much. I think
And
it's the
they're
same
in
thing as
form,
Washington.
or
Like
they're in form.
I think it's the exact same thing as Washington. It's the pieces are there. Can you put together a game plan to win games?
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't think you guys will get it to unless you bring everybody back and they're all healthy.
Yeah, like a
I
healthy
guess, and they
Philly,
find
a
a little
healthy
bit of
Philly
form, you guys
makes
won't make
the
the divisional round.
championship.
Exactly right, and that's what I mean. I don't see you guys making it past a divisional round
Yeah, like
if you guys aren't healthy enough.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's just going to be a thing as it happens, like throughout the season. Who's healthy? Because last year Minnesota and Philly went through and were incredibly healthy. Like they had like a total of like 12 injuries between both teams, which is unheard of.
Yeah, which is just ridiculous. And that really made your championship team. Just the fact that you were able to keep healthy throughout the season, players were able to find form. Were coming back from people who've come back from injuries from the previous season were there to play well. Again, it's unheard of, as you said. Just to have only about 12 players injured throughout the whole season on both the defensive and offensive end. That's a team of what 53
Yeah.
man roster.
Yep.
It's a 53 man roster, and you only have 12 injuries in the year. You
I
know,
was talking about across both teams. So that's 106
oh,
guys.
so it's about 100 and something, right?
Yeah, there was really only like 12 injuries between both teams.
Yeah, so it's nuts.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'll ask the last question before we move on to our picks
Yep.
for the week, and we can both agree. New York, once again, I'm not going to see any postseason action
No.
at this point. They're 1-5. Who do they play tomorrow?
They play Atlanta, and they should lose. that
Atlanta.
game.
You know, they're not going to win.
Yep.
I tipped them, but they're not going to win.
Yep.
They're going to be 1-6 by the end of the week. Probably nowhere near winning or even sniffing the postseason. So, you know, with you know the dramas that's happened with OBJ, you know, he's coming out saying, "Oh, you know, Eli's too old. Can't do this, can't do that. I need a younger, fresher quarterback." You know, and what he's been saying to the media, and it's a lot of bad light on OBJ. Let's be honest. Is it time for the Giants to go full rebuild? Let Eli walk, maybe try and find a trade for Odell, even though he's got a massive contract. What do you do? I would have really helped if Greg was here, but what do you do if you're the Giants because of all this turmoil that's happening in a public setting? You know, Odell has made it very publicly known that he is frustrated in New York, especially with the front office letting Eli continue to play.
I actually have a different opinion. I think it's Odell's job to talk shit about Eli.
Really?
He's the only person in that locker room that is on guaranteed money and can talk what everyone is thinking, right? So if he says nothing, then he is not doing his job as a leader in that locker room.
Yeah, but it's to the point where you can't make it. He's made it public, you know. It's all over the.
But it's what everyone's thinking. It's not like
TV first take, you know?
It's not like this is.
Yeah, it's everyone's thinking, but you know, it's not a good look for the team.
Yeah,
it's
of
just like
course
that
it's not.
Earl
It's
Thomas thing with the Seattle thing, you know, flipping the bird to the bench. It's almost the same thing, you know. He's going, you know, screw you, Eli. Come on, front office. I need a quarterback. I need someone here with me to throw me the ball.
Yeah, I think. Again, I think it's his job to do this because otherwise the Giants aren't going to fix the problem. Like, they can trust Eli all they want, but Eli is not getting any better, right? Eli has been an average, a C-plus quarterback his entire career, except for the 2 years where he made a playoff run, right? There is a big difference between regular season Eli and playoff Eli. They're two different people. It's like he fucking channels his older brother and Peyton possesses him for like 6 weeks, right? Realistically, like, that's what happens.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So, like, I don't know why New York trust him that he's going to get better and show this playoff form, because he's not.
But he's not. He's not. He's at the point where he's towards the end of his career, he's at the back end of his career. Why not? That's why I kept saying, you know, they should have drafted a quarterback.
And this is
But
what,
not
yeah, like,
saying
this
that
comes back to
Barkley
what
was
I've
a
been
bad
saying.
pick. Barkley was
This is what I've been saying since the draft, is that they needed to take Sam Darnold. He was up there on the number 2 pick. You didn't have to trade for him. You would have got him for free. Yeah, you would have had running back issues, but you could have picked up Sony Michel in the second, assuming New England didn't take him, because there were rumors that New England were willing to trade up for Baker if he was still available.
But I did hear that rumor as well, actually.
But even if you get to the second, Nick Chubb was available on the board. Like, you just take Nick Chubb in the second. Or, like, who else was...
He's a serviceable running back anyway.
Yeah,
so.
or, like, there was, like, 3 more running backs on the board that were all like, oh, yeah, we can, like... I mean, the Washington running back, the guy that got hurt. What was his name?
Oh, the Mr. Irrelevant?
No. Like, Washington took him in the second. Darius Geis. That's right.
That's it.
Yeah, like, he was available till halfway through the second, and Washington picked him up for free. Like, that is, like, if he didn't break his ACL, I'm sure we would be talking to him the same way we talked about Hunt last year. Like, that guy's explosive. And the only reason he wasn't known before then is because he had to back up Leonard Fournette. And of course, no one's going to look good behind Leonard Fournette. But, like, that kid is a beast. Absolute gun running back. So, yeah, like, the Giants messed up. We all knew that they needed to take a quarterback. They knew they needed to take a quarterback, but they were like, nah, we trust Eli.
No, we trust Eli. I think right now it is time for a full rebuild. You got the pieces in Odell. You got on the offensive end in Odell and Barkley. You have the defensive there with Shepard and Apple. I think it's time to go, you know what, Eli, sorry, mate. see you later. Take a back seat. You can be our backup. I don't care. Be our backup. Be our second string. Be that veteran we need on that bench. But you need to draft a young quarterback, or New York, who does like what Lewis, the trap guy always says. Who doesn't want to play in New York?
Exactly.
It's the Big Apple. It's the city where everyone wants to live in. It's the big city. Everyone, that's where dreams are made of, is in New York.
So I think
right? Use that as a sales pitch. Everyone wants to play in New York. Why not try and get a serviceable, free agent quarterback, or draft through the, get a quarterback through the draft. There's a lot of strong candidates.
Yeah.
Coming into the draft this year, playing in that quarterback position.
So
why not?
Yeah, at this point in the season, I don't pick someone up in free agency. You're 1-6. You're not making the postseason. Stick with Eli. Get to the drafts. Approach Eli and say, "Hey, this is what we're doing. We're taking a quarterback. We want you to start, and we want you to mentor this kid because this will be your last year on contract."
Exactly right, because he's only got that 1 year, right?
Exactly. And you're like, "We're not re-signing you. We're going to draft a young QB. We want you to mentor him for a year, and then you're going to either step to the secondary role or we'll release you. It's up to you."
Yeah, I'm not taking credit away from you. Like, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. When you win 2 rings.
Yeah,
you throw, and when you're related to Peyton Manning, good things are going to happen. But at this point, Odell makes a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you watch the Giants play, he's getting the ball to his knees, man.
Like, bro,
he's not getting it up. He's catching it to his knees, to his ankles, and that's why he's not running his routes properly, and that's why he's physically, frustrated with this team. Like,
bro, could you imagine if they had Sam Darnold? Like, Sam Darnold is slinging it for the Jets, right? And that team is garbage. That team is hot garbage with no one good on it.
Exactly.
And Sam Darnold is slinging it. Imagine having Baker. Literally any of those quarterbacks would have been a great fit in New York.
And the thing is, what really confuses me about the Giants is the whole time during the combine, the lead up to the draft, they were saying, "We're taking a quarterback. Our team needs a quarterback. We're taking a quarterback." And they swerve us, the biggest swerve of the year, and draft Saquon. Like, Saquon's a great player. He's just shown he's going to be a superstar.
Absolutely.
He's going to be a superstar. And I'm not taking any credit away from what Barkley's done already in his career. But when you need a quarterback,
you draft a
quarterback.
Yeah, you just can't.
If you need a running back, you need a running back. And they needed both positions. However, everyone can say, and the front office said it, we need a quarterback. The biggest issue right now is that quarterback position. It's thin. And it was very thin.
Yep.
It still is thin. With a running back, you can go a year without having a great running back.
Yeah, Seattle's proved that for the last 4 years.
No, a lot of teams do it now. I'm just,
and I mean, like,
you can't go anywhere without a decent quarterback.
Absolutely, and like the thing is with running backs is that, like, Saquon is amazing, right? But you could have got someone like Camaro in a third, Geis in the second. Like, these guys that come, like, Kareem Hunt wasn't picked up till the fourth. Like, there are guys down there in the draft that are going to do well at the running back position because it's so deep.
Exactly.
Good quarterbacks aren't there every year in your top 5. And you had a number 2 pick.
It's every once in a blue moon you're going to get a Tom Brady.
Yeah.
In the 6th round.
Exactly.
You're going to get Aaron Rodgers with the 21st or 22nd pick. It's not every day.
Like, Dak went in the 4th, but like there is issues with Dak.
Exactly right. Deshaun went late as well, didn't he?
Late in the 1st, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. The quarterback position is top heavy.
Yeah. And
I say that every year before the draft. It's top heavy. If you need a quarterback and you have a top 10 pick, you pick the quarterback.
Absolutely.
All right, because the running back position is so deep and you can always get a sleeper.
Yep.
With that quarterback position, it's not every day you're going to get a sleeper like Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
It's that type of thing. And I think now New York, I don't think they regret their pick.
No, I don't think they should either.
Saquon's an amazing player. Because he's an amazing player, and I think he might win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think.
Yeah, at this point, I think he's probably on pace for it.
Or he's in discussion. He's at least in the discussion.
Yeah, it's either him or Mayfield. I think it's Mayfield for my lock, but.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. And then next year, hey, they're gonna have a top 10 pick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're gonna have a top 5 pick.
Top 5 pick.
Like, realistically, there's only like
a quarterback.
Yeah.
There's that quarterback from can't remember where he's from. I think he might be from Oklahoma. I think he might be a Sooner. I don't
Oh,
know, but
is Tua coming out this year?
no, I think he's got one more year. I think he's only in his sophomore.
Because man, if they could pick up Tua, that would be an awesome offense to watch.
I'll have to double check that. He might either he could be a junior, but I think he just might be a sophomore.
Yeah,
I'm not too, I gotta find out. I'll let you guys know later. But that's my biggest take from it. If you need a quarterback, you draft a quarterback.
pretty much.
So this is the time where they need to reflect and go, oh shit, we needed a quarterback.
Yeah.
All right, so then
Guess we'll move
I'll
on to
continue
our-
on with it. Yeah, we'll move on to our picks, but I'll keep an eye on what's happening in New York because it's really interesting that you can see something just burn in flames.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
just so fun to watch.
it's what we expected to happen to Seattle, but Seattle is somehow winning games.
Exactly right. So we'll move on to our picks for the week. Kurt, we start off with Miami, and actually we'll start off with Kurt. Do you want to do Greg's picks, or am I doing Greg's picks?
Uh,
Should we just read him out what Greg said?
yeah,
I guess.
we'll just read them out as
Alright.
we go.
All right, so we got Miami, Houston, and we've all gone Houston.
Yep.
I think it's a safe pick. Miami, they might sneak a win, but I doubt it.
Yeah, Miami was off to a
I
hot
think the
start.
Texans are at home.
I think
Are the Texans home?
I believe so.
or are
I
they
believe that the way this is set out, it shows whoever's at home on the right. So
Oh, on the right. Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure. But-
I'll just check that. Yes, because Redskins were home this week and they won.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that the Texans are going to play better. I mean, they've gone on a 4-game win streak, and they should feel pretty good at home.
Yeah.
Especially in a short week for the Miami team, I think. Plus, that's a bit of a flight. Then Philly go to Jacksonville, it looks like.
Yep, and Greg has gone for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
Oh, wait,
Listen.
that's the London game, isn't it?
Is
Yeah.
it a London game?
I think that's what that one there in the bracket says.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the Jags Philly game is being played in London, so that'll actually be a really interesting one. That's a long flight for both of them, but yeah, I think Philly should probably win that one.
Yeah. I've gone with Philly as well.
Again, like we just saw
Um,
what a good defense was able to do against Bortles, and I think that Philly has a good defense. So
Yeah. So then we'll move on to Baltimore and Carolina, and we've all gone Carolina.
Yep.
North Carolina. I
um,
think, this was my biggest toss-up. Just because I didn't know how it would swing depending on, if Lamar starts, if Flacco starts, or if
Yeah.
Cam is Cam.
yeah, it's Cam is Cam. Like that's really what this game comes down to. I don't think
So,
Lamar is starting this year.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, he had his first rush touchdown today, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like Lamar's going to see a lot of gadget plays this season, but I don't think he's going to be the starting QB.
Yeah.
Maybe he comes in at like the end of the season if they're just playing garbage time, but realistically, I think that Carolina should win this. Like Baltimore have been playing well, but I think Carolina is overall a better unit.
I agree with you 100%. So we'll move on to the next game, which was the
Cleveland at the
um,
Steelers.
Cleveland Steelers. We've both gone Cleveland.
Yep.
And Greg again has gone Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I think he's assuming that Le'Veon is playing.
well, Le'Veon has
um,
2 weeks left on his holdout before he has to show up.
He said he was going to show up in week 6.
Yeah, but like he
But he didn't.
legally has to play in week 10, otherwise he won't get paid for the season.
Oh.
So, he will be playing in week 10 guaranteed, but he's probably still holding out this game
And next week,
and next week.
and the week after, you reckon?
I-
Okay.
Yeah, I think he holds out until the end of week 9, shows up for training on the start of week 10, plays in week 10 so that he can actually get his bonus, get paid.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I don't know what. I'm just assuming that's why Greg. I don't know. It's Greg.
Yeah,
Um,
he goes for like those power picks, like they've been good in the past. But I think you and I are just huge fans of Baker, so like we're gonna tip Baker.
Yeah,
And-
and Landry, man. You don't forget my boy Landry.
Yeah.
I love Jarvis.
I mean, last
miss
time
him,
they
Jarvis.
played, they took Pittsburgh to overtime and they drew, and that was with Tyrod at QB, and I think that Baker is an upgrade, so this should be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, it should be. And then we move on to a great defensive team versus a great offensive team. Kansas City taking on the taking on Denver,
Yep.
and we've all gone Kansas City. We've all gone for the powerhouse offensive team.
I don't think this is a surprise pick. They're our lock for the AFC.
Yeah, I think and I think the fact that the way Mahomes throws a football,
yeah, it's.
I don't think at this point. I don't think any defense can really stop him.
You have to be such a ball hawk to actually stop his passes.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
And
So that's why I think going for Kansas City was the right option.
yeah. Then we get the Jets taking on Chicago, and we've all gone for the monsters of the midway here, and we've all tipped Chicago.
Well, I remember now that every time I tip the Jets, they win.
Okay.
So, so I think the Bears are a better team. I think, especially if they're at home, the Chicago crowd is nuts.
Absolutely.
They love their Bears. They love their Bears, and they hate New York.
But yeah,
So,
even with Mac might still be sidelined with that ankle injury, but he should be back fully healthy.
He should be back. Well, they limited him. I don't think he played the full game.
Yeah.
This week because he had that in week 6.
Yes,
during the game in week 6.
He's probably not
so
fully
he
healthy.
should be
but
fine.
yeah,
No,
he
so
should be good to go this week.
So he's a game time decision on whether he's playing or not.
Right.
From what I've read, so it's a game time decision. So but even then, I don't think even when you take Mac out, I think they still have the ability to beat this Jets team.
Yeah, especially like Trubisky is looking much improved, markedly improved.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think this should be a fun game to watch, but at the end of the day, Chicago should take this out.
Yep, and then we move on to another pick that we've all gone. For Detroit taking on Seattle, we've all gone Detroit Lions.
Yep.
Don't see anything wrong with that. Don't really need to discuss it. It's because of the Seahawks.
Pretty much.
Then the next game is Tampa Bay taking on Cincinnati. And you and I have both gone Cincinnati. Great minds think alike. I think we've had the exact same picks.
Just about, I think so, yeah.
We have the same picks for every game.
Oh, okay, well, there we go. That's an interesting week.
So Greg's gone for Tampa Bay, which is weird. I don't know why.
Maybe because they got the win over the Browns, but
Yeah, but
I think Cincinnati is a better team at the moment.
I think Greg might be relying on bad Andy Dalton.
Yeah, bad Andy Dalton is a real thing. But
because when he's bad, he's bad.
yeah, the reason I'm staying away from Tampa Bay is Fitzmagic is over. Jameis is back to the starting role.
Winston's back. See you later, Fitzmagic.
Yeah, it was fun while it lasted, but
2018 to 2018, you will be missed.
Yeah, this should be a fun game. Like, I think it's gonna be closer than I think we all think it is. But yeah, I think Cincinnati.
I can seriously see this game going to OT or very close to OT, maybe a kick or two in it.
This could come down to a field goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we go on to my game of the week, which is the division rivalry game between the Redskins and the Giants.
Yep.
And Greg's gone for Washington.
Yeah, this isn't a surprise. I mean, Washington should clean this game up.
But it's Greg. He's the biggest New York Giants fan I've ever met in my life. And he's like, see you later. I'm going for Washington.
Yeah, look, like, this will be a competitive game. Division games always are, but...
And we always seem to bring out the best in the Giants. I love watching these types of games, especially when it involves the Giants and Redskins, because it's just so... I think last year they split the series 1-1, and the year before that it was 1-1. So it's been a lot. It's been really good to watch. I think the edge is with the Redskins because of the turmoil that's happening within New York, with Odell, with Eli, and then you got I think Peterson's going to have a big game. I think Kerrigan's going to have a big game. Norman is going to match up with Odell. We both know the rivalry between those two it's going to be a great matchup. I think all the pieces lead to a Washington win.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that Washington loses is if they can't contain Saquon and all of a sudden Eli decides to be Peyton.
Well, we did lose to the Colts.
Yeah, but like Andrew Luck's a god. Like I've been saying
we got blown out.
Yeah, but I've been saying this for years. Andrew Luck is a god. Right?
You have been saying that.
Like, Andrew Luck is, besides Matt Stafford, the most underrated quarterback of all time because he plays for the Colts. Because they live in a glue factory. Like, yeah, like he didn't play for 2 years, but like, he literally lives in a glue factory. Like, Indianapolis is so ineptly run. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the fact that Chuck Pagano, who was like filmed snorting cocaine at the like Indianapolis Colts headquarters, was not fired immediately shows you how badly run that organization is. And that Andrew Luck is still able to pull him with like 12 win seasons was like, oh, okay, this guy's really good.
Well, speaking about the Colts, we've all tipped them to beat the struggling Raiders,
Yeah, look, the Raiders don't have a pass rush because pass rush is really hard to find.
and they're also the Raiders are also shopping Amari
Oh, they are
as
shopping
well.
Omari. Okay, I
They
thought that was
are
just
they are
rumors.
shopping Amari for picks,
Interesting.
which is I think is a good pick because 2 years in a row I've picked up Amari Cooper. 2 years in a row he's disappointed me.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with Amari Cooper is the fact that uh, he has to
Compete with
juggle.
Jordy Nelson.
Yeah, Jordy Nelson and Martavis Bryant, who's back in the lineup.
Exactly
Um,
right. So he's now that playing that slot role.
yeah, and he hates that. He needs to be a number one somewhere. So
Oh yeah,
Dallas,
for sure.
pick up the phone and get a real wide receiver instead of Cole Beasley. Jesus Christ, I didn't think
Do
it'd be
it,
so difficult.
please. And he wants to play in Dallas.
Yeah,
Mario wants to play in Dallas.
Amari wants to be in Dallas.
Dude.
You need a one. He needs to be a one. Get Dak a real receiver for God's sakes.
Wow, it's the perfect partnership. But knowing Dallas,
Dude, I guarantee you, Jerry's like, I'll give you a third.
I'll give you a third and a future fourth.
No, he'll be like, I'll give you a third and a seventh. And they're gonna be like, what the hell,
Dallas,
Jerry?
what a laughing stock. Oh, I love the Dallas franchise.
Dude, it's so
Oh.
inevitably run.
Oh,
And it looks like, yeah, it looks like the rest of the games here we've all gone the same. The Rams go, the Green Bay go to the Rams. I think that's a game that we can all see going to the Rams.
yeah.
We've all picked them.
Unless Aaron Rodgers just becomes like more of a god.
Yeah, pretty much. Like the Packers just,
in a Brett Favre.
yeah, like Rodgers just turns into like Superman again and like throws for 700 yards. But like against that LA Rams
Well,
defense, it's probably not gonna happen. Like,
Well, they
um,
gave me 220 points today.
yeah,
on
look,
Fantasy.
they're amazing.
So they're a great team. Then we go to Arizona, who are taking on the 49ers, and we've all gone for San Fran.
Just because of how like poor
Even though-
the Cardinals have been.
Even though we did say a couple of weeks ago, you and me both said that the Cardinals are the worst team in the league.
Yep.
And then Greg said, no, I think San Fran is.
I think this is gonna be an absolute dumpster fire. Like,
You know what? No, my luck, I'll end up watching this game.
yeah, bro. Like, honestly, this game is gonna be terrible. Like, I don't even want to cover this next week. So maybe we'll just put the score up and we'll just be like, yeah, it was that. Like, I don't care. I don't want to have to watch
We
this
just
game.
skip the game completely. Don't even know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Then we move to the second last game of the week. We got the Saints taking on the Vikings.
Which
in
will actually be a
Minnesota.
really fun game. Like, inside
will
the
be a good
dome.
game.
This will be fun to watch.
I know we've all got Minnesota.
Yep.
I think, as you said before, I think we all think they're coming out of the division on top.
Yep.
Greg's said that from the start, which was really smart. So not much to talk about that other than it's going to be a really good game. And then the last game is another game that I don't really watch because I know it's just going to be an absolute slaughter. It's going to be the Patriots taking on the Bills, and we've all gone New England.
Yeah, I don't think this game is going to need coverage as well. I think we're going to probably put the
No.
score up and, like, that'll be it.
So the teams not playing will be Atlanta, Dallas, Chargers, and Tennessee. So anything to add, Kurt, with that Buffalo game?
Honestly, I'll be amazed if Brady doesn't put, like, 60 on them.
I'd be amazed if the Patriots don't shut out
Yeah, that as
the
well.
Bills.
I mean-
if they shut out the Bills, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Yeah, like, if this game, like, shows up and it's like, oh, it was 35-0, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that was expected.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think at the point now, like I know I've tipped Buffalo before, and I'm never making that mistake again. Especially against a team like New England, who's probably going to have Gronk back. He didn't play this week because of I think his back locked up. He had back spasms or something, so he
Yeah,
didn't play.
that dude's got 1 year left in him, and then he's retiring.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that as well. So we've all gone that, and for once, Kurt, you and I have the exact same picks.
Yeah, I think this is the first time that's happened to anyone out of the three of us, but we've gone for the exact same picks, so I might put a
great
multi
minds-
on this week.
And split it half.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, guys, that concludes the show for this week. Thank you for listening. Again, leave like, share, comment on the video. If you have any questions, feel free to message us on Facebook at the Trap NFL Podcast. We always respond to fans or listeners. We really want to know your thoughts about that roughing the passer rule. What you really think about it. Both you and both Kurt and I agree that I think it's a bit too lenient. and just endangers the passer even more. So yeah, let us know what you think, and we'll sign off. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Yep, that's all from us. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.